Hello,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
Fine, and you?
Okay.
Um, well, it's been 3 years since your previous album. Just a quick thought on that album. How do you look back on Centipede?
I feel like for all of our records, I think about them more in terms of the process these days, more than the product. So yeah.
What was the process like then, Centipede?
Well, for me, the process was personally intense. There was a lot of emotion and, struggling going on inside. So that's the way I look back on it in a way, and thinking about how the outcome of the record and what the record is a product of how I was feeling at the time, which was, there's a lot of anger and confusion. So yeah, that's basically how I think about it. I think the actual process was just as interesting or new or fun as any of the other records that we've done. You know what I mean? But I think it was a different experiment, kind of, because it was us playing all together and writing that way, and we hadn't really done it in a long time.
And what was your anger? Where was it coming from? The frustration and the anger?
Just sadness and sort of depression about. I was going through a divorce, and it was really a long process that was really drawn out, and just not really learning that I was really troubled by not being able to get grounded anywhere because of touring so much and then recording and this process, which ended up with me getting sick a lot on tour, and not being able to tour so much and needing to take time to just find my home in LA and just sort of, spend time home there.
And what was for you then the turning point?
I don't know, just being able to talk and work through a lot of it, and have time to think about it, and my girlfriend helped me out a lot, and just being able to just talk and my friends around me in LA, and just be home and find a different routine and focus on my body more and figure out how the body and the mind relate and emotions relate, and figuring out how to sort of temper and balance both of them to work more harmoniously together.
Was it something that you paid attention to previously too? I mean, the balance of your body.
It has in a certain sense, in terms of something like meditation. I've meditated for a really long time, since I was in college, just because of depressions and stuff I was going through, and wanted to experiment with that kind of thing that turned into something I enjoyed and found helpful, But I think having put so much time and effort into Animal Collective over the past 10 years or so, I think, maybe I had more time the past couple of years to think about other things that maybe I was neglecting, or other emotions I was neglecting, by just putting all of my emotion into making music or art,
And when did you get this realization that you had to put maybe more emotion and more time and things apart from Animal Collective?
I think it's something that I've become aware of. I don't think anything really happens immediately, necessarily, especially with emotions or change. I think everything happens over a certain amount of time, and sometimes a very slow amount of time. So I think it's something that's been percolating maybe in me for past 3 years. Maybe.
Have you found the balance already? I mean, between Animal Collective and...
Well, it's hard to find balance with it, because everything's always changing. You know what I mean? And the environment in which we do stuff is always changing. And I think in terms of myself, and certain emotions and the way I live life or approach things, I've definitely found more balance. But I've also had some time off. Animal Collective hasn't really been working so much. So it's hard to say what it'll, what it'll be like. But I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm more positive about it.
It's good. What was for you the starting point then for this album? Does it date back a long time ago? Or?
We started talking about the specific ideas for the record last summer of 2014. Just texting and Skyping and talking about, I feel like all of our records start with simple ideas that are talked about,
And what was the simple idea for this album?
Words that were thrown around or ideas were based on, like the Ramones. The phrase techno ramones was tossed around. Noah, I think, kind of mentioned it, and then we started talking about that idea. And I think the idea really meant sort of doing really simple, to the point, short songs that just came in and left. I think we're in the past we've been, the type of band that's had a hard time making a song less than 7 minutes long. And I think in terms of being one of the songwriters, I write a song thinking maybe it's going to be a certain length or not, maybe thinking about it so much. Yeah. And then once we start playing it, realizing once the song's done, like, oh man, we've been playing that song for 15 minutes, like. So easy for us, Yeah. So I think it's more of a challenge. It was more of a challenge for this record to write songs where maybe a lot more happened in the Animal Collective sense, but in a shorter amount of time. But feel good about it, like we weren't, like everything had its purpose. Not that we were just trying to do it, that we really were writing good songs that felt good,
And that was so. And you were saying, well, you were into the process of maybe not putting all your emotions into and putting all your effort into an Animal Collective. And once you started again with this, technical. What was it? Technical Ramones.
Techno Ramones, like techno music.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to maybe not dive into Animal Collective as you were used to?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. It's definitely, once you're in a comfortable routine, you know what I mean. It's hard to diverge from that.
But how did you stay safe in this way?
I think it's just being regimented in a practice. You know what I mean. And it's like meditating every day. You know what I mean. Sometimes it can be hard to do. Sometimes you have to really push yourself to meditate every day or exercise every day, but then the more you do something, the easier it becomes, So it's just sort of like keeping a regimented schedule of doing that. And sometimes it's the results aren't pleasing, In terms of having done this for so long, like I had to be okay with just realizing that sometimes I might sit down at the keyboard or at the sampler or whatever I might be using to try and make a song, and it just not being the day, you know what I mean, nothing happening.
What was the first song that made it up onto the album?
That
you wrote?
That I wrote was Golden Gal, which is probably the oldest song of the group of songs. Golden Gal and Vertical.
What is Golden Gal about for you?
Gender roles.
Yeah.
Sort of the ongoing issues maybe, and conversations that men and women might have about, each other's roles with each other and in society. And it's kind of like a girl power song to me, like wanting a woman to, to feel good about herself. I mean, being influenced particularly by conversations I've had in the past with my girlfriend, or, often hearing as musicians, that, women have a harder time than men in the music industry or certain industries, and but thinking that somebody is a very special person, and dealing with that and having to be somebody's support all the time, as a woman, or as a man supporting a woman or a woman supporting a man. And it's an issue that's been on my mind the past couple of years. But I had a conversation with a friend of mine, a woman, about how important the TV show The Golden Girls was for her when she was growing up, how subversive she thought it was, and how it really encouraged her as a woman, you know, and she'd never seen anything like that, and I thought that was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So, like, coming from a place where I was like, I want to write a song about women, I want to write a song about gender roles, but I don't really know what's my take on this, you know what I mean? And then I heard this story, and I was like, oh, the Golden Girls, okay, that's cool.
In hindsight, it's true, I think, yeah, maybe. Do you know? I mean, I don't know. When you think of the Golden Girls, what do you think then? The TV show.
The TV show?
Yeah.
I think about what's one thing that comes to mind? I guess strong, elderly women.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I think I might even have a line in the song that's like that.
Yeah. And then you named Vertigo.
Vertical, yeah.
Yeah. And what is that for you? What inspired this song for you?
Perspective, which I think is a lot of what the record is about in a way. In terms of us, you know, talking about art and painting and cubism and that kind of thing, but just I was traveling around and thinking about how I do get vertigo when I'm driving a lot, and since I was a kid, I've always had a hard time looking up at buildings and that kind of thing. It makes me really dizzy, and similarly to being up very high somewhere and looking down. So I kind of wanted to write a song about the overwhelming aspect of height, and that's where it started. And then it turned into sort of the nature of everything sort of moving up, and that's really where we're going. You know what I mean? As structurally, as a society, we're always moving up. We're always building up. We're building on top of it, of everything else. And so, kind of.
Is it good to always build up?
No, not necessarily. I don't think it is. I mean, it blocks away nature, maybe. You know, but maybe it is nature for us. Maybe that's part of it. It's hard to say. I don't know. It's hard to know what.
Yeah, because nature also grows.
Yeah. Nature grows up, and I have lines in the song about that too, about trees and reaching towards the sun. And we're all kind of. The sun is a really important thing, and it's up in the sky, you know. So.